I used to think criminals were different from me. Older, harder, meaner, people who planned things, people who didn't feel guilty. Then I stole from the store where I worked, lied to the man who gave me my first real job, blamed a coworker who trusted me, and still somehow told myself I wasn't a thief. I was just borrowing it. I was just one win away from putting it back. That's what I kept saying right up until two police officers walked into the store and asked for me by name. I'm 27 years old. My name is Ethan. I'm from Ohio, about 40 minutes outside Columbus. Not a bad place to grow up, not exciting either. Just one of those towns with two high schools, a Walmart, churches on every other corner, and people who still ask about your parents before they ask about you. I wasn't a bad kid. That's probably why people gave me so many chances. My dad worked maintenance for the county. My mom did billing at a dental office. We weren't rich, but I never went hungry. I played baseball in high school, got average grades, worked summers, and mostly stayed out of trouble. After community college didn't really go anywhere for me, I started working at a sporting goods and outdoor store called Ridgeway Outfitters. We sold fishing gear, hunting clothes, work boots, camping supplies, baseball gloves, all that stuff. It wasn't glamorous, but I liked it. The owner, Mike, was in his 50s. Big beard, loud laugh, old school kind of guy. He knew my dad from high school and hired me when I was 21. At first, I was just stocking shelves and helping customers find boot sizes. By 26, I was assistant manager. I had keys to the store, access to closing reports, handled deposits some nights, trained new employees, and knew the regular customers by name. People trusted me. That sentence feels heavy now. I lived in a small apartment with my girlfriend Chloe. She was 25, worked at a daycare, and had more patience than anyone I've ever met. She wasn't flashy. She liked thrift stores, true crime podcasts, iced coffee, and making lists for everything. Grocery lists, cleaning lists, budget lists, Christmas gift lists in September. She wanted stability more than anything. I used to make fun of her for it. "You act like we're 40, I'd say. She'd say, "No, I act like I don't want to be broke forever." We weren't doing amazing, but we were okay. Rent was manageable if we were careful. I had a truck payment I complained about constantly. Chloe had student loans. We had some credit card debt, but not enough to panic. I wanted more, though. That was always my problem. Not more in a clear, ambitious way. I didn't have some big plan. I just hated feeling average. I hated seeing people from high school buying houses, getting promotions, posting vacations, while I was still counting hours on a schedule and eating leftovers for lunch. I loved Chloe, but sometimes when she talked about budgeting, I felt trapped by her realism. She'd say, "If we save $400 a month, we could have a decent emergency fund by next year." And I'd think, next year? I didn't want next year. I wanted one moment that changed everything. That made me exactly the kind of person gambling loves. It started with sports betting. A couple of guys at work were always talking about parlays during football season. I watch football anyway, so at first it felt harmless. $5 on a game, $10 on a touchdown score. A little extra excitement on Sunday. I downloaded an app because there was a promotion. Bet 20, get 200 in bonus bets or something like that. The ad made it feel like I'd be stupid not to take it. My first bet lost. My second bet won $84. That $84 did something embarrassing to my brain. It wasn't even that much money, but it felt like I had pulled it out of thin air. I didn't work an extra shift. I didn't sell anything. I didn't wait 2 weeks for payday. I tapped my phone, watched a game I was already watching, and money appeared. I told Chloe about that one. She laughed and said, "Cool, now cash it out and delete the app." I said, "Relax, it's just fun." And it was. For a while, I bet small amounts on NFL games, then college football, then NBA, then random late night games between teams I didn't care about. I started learning spreads, over-unders, player props. I listened to betting podcasts while driving to work. I convinced myself that because I was researching, it wasn't gambling. Mike caught me checking scores at work once. Don't let that stuff get in your head, he said. I laughed it off. It's just $20 here and there. He looked at me for a second and said, "That's how it always starts." I thought he sounded dramatic. The first real win came on a Sunday night parlay. I put $50 on 4 legs and hit all of them. It paid a little over $1,900. I remember the feeling more than the number. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I kept refreshing the balance like the money might disappear if I looked away. I felt smarter than everyone, like I had seen something other people missed. I took Chloe out to dinner the next night. She asked why I was suddenly acting rich. I told her I got a small bonus from work. That was my first real gambling lie. Not the biggest, not the worst, but the first one that changed something. Because after I said it and nothing bad happened, lying became an option. I paid off part of my credit card with that win, bought Chloe a pair of boots she had been wanting, put some gas in my truck. For about a week, gambling made me feel like a responsible adult. That's the part nobody warns you about. Sometimes the first win doesn't destroy you because you spend it badly. Sometimes it destroys you because you spend it well. After that, normal money felt slow and stupid. A paycheck felt boring. A budget felt like punishment. A $100 win felt small. A $100 loss felt like something I could fix with $200. I started betting every day. Then I found online casino games inside the same app. Slots, blackjack, roulette, bright colors, little sounds, fast rounds. No waiting for a game to finish, no injuries, no weather, no coach messing up your bet. Just click, spin, win or lose. That was where everything got darker. Sports betting still had pauses. Online slots didn't. You could lose $300 in 10 minutes and barely understand how it happened. The first night I played slots, I turned $100 into $740. I was sitting on the couch while Chloe slept beside me, the glow of my phone under a blanket like I was a teenager hiding from my parents. When I hit the bonus round, I almost shouted. I cashed out $500 and left $240 to play with. I lost the $240 in maybe 15 minutes. Then I deposited another $100, then another. By morning, I had lost the $500 too. I went to work with 2 hours of sleep and a headache behind my eyes. Mike asked if I was sick. I said, just tired. That became my answer for everything. Just tired. Chloe noticed before anyone else did. You're up late every night, she said. I can't sleep. You're always on your phone. Work stuff? You work at Ridgeway Outfitters, Ethan. What emergency happens at midnight? Somebody can't decide between 2 fishing rods? I snapped at her because she was right. I started hiding in the bathroom to gamble, then in my truck, then in the stockroom at work during slow hours. I'd tell employees I was checking inventory and stand between boxes of hunting jackets, spinning digital slots, while customers walked around outside. I still thought I had control because I kept showing up. That was my proof. I wasn't missing work. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't sleeping under a bridge. I had keys to the store and a girlfriend at home, so in my mind I was fine. I was not fine. My bank account started hitting 0 days before payday. I used credit cards for groceries. I took cash advances. I opened another card, then a personal loan. I told Chloe it was to consolidate debt. That was half true. It did consolidate debt. Then I created more. I stopped taking Chloe on dates. I complained about money constantly, but somehow always had money to deposit into gambling apps. I got irritated when she bought groceries that weren't on sale. Then I'd lose $600 in my truck behind the store and come inside acting like nothing happened. The shame was always there, but it didn't stop me. It just made me gamble more, because winning felt like the only way to erase it. My first thought about stealing from work came after a terrible weekend. I had lost my whole paycheck by Saturday afternoon. Rent was due Monday. Chloe had transferred me her half already, trusting me to pay it like usual. I used it to chase losses. By Sunday night, I was staring at a negative bank balance and sweating through my shirt. At work on Monday, I had to close. That meant counting the drawer and preparing the deposit bag. There was just over $4,000 in cash. I remember standing in the office, holding the bills, thinking how stupid it was that this money was right there while my life was falling apart. I didn't take it that night, but the thought stayed. A week later, I took $200. I told myself I would replace it the next day. I had a bet I felt good about. I was going to win, put the $200 back, and never do anything like that again. The bet lost, so I took $300 more, then $500. I started manipulating small things I thought nobody would notice. Short deposits, delayed reports, cash I said was misplaced. I won't explain it in detail because the method doesn't matter, and honestly, it was not clever. It was desperate. Every time I took money, I felt sick. Every time I gambled it, I felt focused. Every time I lost it, I felt like I had no choice but to take more. That loop became my life. The unexpected twist came through a coworker named Ryan. Ryan was 19, part-time, still living with his parents, saving for a car. He was a good kid, kind of awkward, always asking me questions because he wanted to become full-time. He looked up to me at work the way younger employees sometimes do when you have keys and know the alarm code. One Thursday, Mike called me into the office. He looked serious. "We're missing cash again." My stomach dropped. I said, "How much?" "Enough." I tried to look confused. Mike leaned back in his chair and said, "You notice anything weird with Ryan?" I should have stopped it right there. I should have said no. I should have confessed. Instead, I saw a door open and walk through it. I said, "I don't know. He's been kind of nervous lately." Mike stared at me. "Nervous how?" I shrugged. I don't know. He asks a lot about closing." That was all it took. I didn't directly accuse him. That's how I justified it. But I planted the idea. Ryan got pulled off closing shifts. He knew something was wrong but didn't know what. He asked me if Mike was mad at him. I said, "Just keep your head down." He nodded like I was helping him. That night I went home, sat in my truck outside the apartment, and cried. Then I deposited $700 into a casino app. That is addiction. Feeling disgusted with yourself and still feeding the thing that made you disgusting. By then, Chloe was close to leaving. We fought almost every day. She found loan emails. I lied. She found bank overdraft notices. I lied. She asked if I was gambling again. I said sometimes, but nothing serious. One night she stood in the kitchen, holding my phone. I had left it unlocked. Her face was pale. "Ethan," she said, "why did you deposit $800 today?" I said it wasn't what it looked like. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What does it look like then?" I told her I had won some before that. I told her I was up overall. I told her she was only seeing part of the picture. She said, "Then show me the whole picture." I couldn't. She packed a bag that night and went to her sister's. I told myself she was overreacting. Then I gambled until 3 a.m. 2 weeks after Chloe left, Mike called me into the office again. This time he closed the door. He had papers on the desk, deposit records, shift reports, dates circled, notes written in his blocky handwriting. He said, "I'm going to ask you one time because I know your dad, and because I've known you since you were a dumb kid buying baseball gloves in here." My throat tightened. He said, "Are you taking money from my store?" I looked him in the eyes, and I lied. "No." He waited. I said, "Mike, come on, you know me." That sentence should have burned my mouth. He looked sad, not angry, sad. He said, "I hope that's true." He gave me a chance, a real one. I walked out of that office shaking, knowing he suspected me, knowing the walls were closing in. Any normal person would have stopped. I took $1,200 2 nights later because I had a sure thing. Because if it hit, I could replace everything. Because I was not thinking like a person anymore. I was thinking like a drowning man grabbing at water. The arrest happened on a Friday afternoon. The store was busy because hunting season was coming up. People were buying boots, camo jackets, trail cameras, ammo boxes, all the usual stuff. I remember the smell of rubber soles and cardboard. I remember Ryan restocking fishing line near aisle 3. I remember Mike standing behind the counter pretending to check invoices. 2 police officers walked in. At first, I didn't think they were there for me. That's how deep denial goes. Even when the ending walks through the front door wearing a badge, part of you still thinks it might be for somebody else. One officer spoke to Mike. Mike pointed toward me. My body went cold. The officer said, "Ethan Miller?" I said, "Yeah? Can we speak with you outside?" Every customer in that store seemed to turn at the same time. Ryan looked at me from aisle 3. I'll never forget his face. Confused first, then understanding, then hurt. Outside, they told me they were investigating theft from the business. They asked questions. I tried to answer calmly, but my voice shook. They said there was video, records, enough evidence. Video. I hadn't thought about the cameras correctly. That sounds stupid because it was stupid. I knew they existed. I had helped install one of them. But gambling had shrunk my brain down to one thought: get money, win, fix it. The officers didn't drag me dramatically or throw me against a car. Real life was quieter and worse. They handcuffed me beside a rack of discounted coolers, while people inside pretended not to stare. Mike came out. I couldn't look at him. He said, "Ethan," just my name. That was all. I started crying. Not loud, not movie crying, just tears I couldn't stop while trying to keep my face still. I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "Ryan's mom called me last night. He thought he was getting fired because of you." That hit harder than the handcuffs. I said, "I didn't mean..." Mike cut me off. "Yes, you did. Maybe not at first, but you did." He was right. That was the worst part. At the station, I finally told the truth, or more truth than I had told anyone. I admitted to taking money. I admitted to gambling. I admitted I had blamed Ryan without saying his name directly. I admitted I didn't know the full amount because by then the numbers had turned into fog. The total was just under $18,000. $18,000. From a small business owned by a man who had given me raises, covered my shifts when my mom had surgery, let me borrow his truck once, and told customers I was basically family. My parents came to pick me up after I was released. My dad drove. My mom sat in the front passenger seat. I sat in the back like a child. Nobody spoke for almost 10 minutes. Finally, my mom turned around. Her eyes were red. "Is it drugs?" I said, "No." She said, "Then why?" I didn't know how to explain that gambling had become a drug without sounding like I was trying to avoid responsibility. So I just said, "I don't know." My dad gripped the steering wheel harder. "You stole from Mike?" I said, "Yes. He gave you that job." "I know. He trusted you." "I know." He pulled into a gas station parking lot and stopped the car. For a second, I thought he might hit me. He didn't. He just got out and stood beside the car with both hands on his head. That was worse. Seeing your father so ashamed he has to step away from you is something I don't wish on anyone. When we got to their house, Chloe was there. My mom had called her. I don't know why. Maybe she thought Chloe could help. Maybe she thought Chloe deserved to hear it from me. Chloe stood in the living room, arms crossed, face blank. I said, "I'm sorry." She said, "For what?" I froze. She said, "No, say it. I want to hear what you're sorry for." I said I was sorry for lying. She waited. I said I was sorry for gambling. She waited. I said I was sorry for stealing. Her face cracked then. "From your job, Ethan. You stole from your job." I nodded. "And you let me think I was crazy." I couldn't answer. She wiped her cheek angrily. I was checking my own memory. I was thinking maybe I misunderstood your bank stuff. Maybe I was being controlling. You made me doubt myself. That sentence has stayed with me almost as much as the arrest. Because she was right. I hadn't just lied. I had made honest people question what they knew. Chloe told me she loved me but could not be with me. I begged. Of course I begged. Addicts always want the consequence delayed one more time. She said, "I hope this is your bottom, but I'm not living at the bottom with you." Then she left. That night, I slept in my childhood bedroom, under baseball trophies from when I was 12. I stared at those dusty little plastic players and thought about how proud everyone used to be of me for doing almost nothing. Hit a ball, get decent grades, show up on time, be polite. Somewhere along the way, I had become a person people had to protect themselves from. The court process took months. I won't pretend I was brave through it. I was terrified. I had never been in legal trouble before. I imagined jail constantly. I imagined my name in the local paper. I imagined everyone from town whispering when my parents walked into church. Mike could have pushed harder than he did. He didn't. I think part of him still cared about the kid he hired. That almost made it worse. I ended up with probation, restitution, community service, mandatory counseling, and a record that made getting work much harder. I avoided jail, which some people said meant I was lucky. They were right, but lucky didn't feel like free. Lucky felt like waking up every day inside the life I had damaged and having to keep walking through it. It has been 14 months since I was arrested. I haven't placed a bet in 11 months. That gap exists because I wish I could say I stopped immediately after the arrest, but I didn't. 3 weeks after being charged, I downloaded another betting app under the stupid belief that I could win enough to help with restitution. I lost $260 and threw up in my parents' bathroom afterward. That was when I finally told my counselor the whole truth. Not the cleaned up version, the ugly version. The version where I didn't just gamble because I was stressed. I gambled because I liked who I became when I was winning. I liked feeling special. I liked feeling like I had found a shortcut around being ordinary. And when I lost, I didn't stop because stopping meant meeting the real me again. The real me was broke, scared, ashamed, and average. I go to meetings now. I blocked gambling apps. My paycheck goes into an account my mom helps monitor, which is humiliating at 27, but less humiliating than stealing from people. I work at a tire shop now. They know about my record. The owner gave me a chance because my probation officer knew him. I don't touch cash. That was part of the agreement. Some days I hate that. Most days, I'm grateful. Mike hasn't spoken to me since court. I wrote him a letter, not asking for forgiveness, just apologizing properly. I don't know if he read it. I also wrote one to Ryan. Ryan replied, one sentence. I hope you get better, but you really messed me up for a while. I deserved worse. Chloe is gone from my life, completely. She blocked me after I sent too many apologies that were really just attempts to keep a door open. I heard she moved to Cincinnati and started over. Good. I mean that now. At first, I wanted her to remember the good version of me. Now, I hope she forgets the version that made her cry in my parents' living room. My parents still love me, but something changed. They don't say it, but I feel it. My mom checks her purse when I'm around sometimes, and then tries to pretend she wasn't. My dad doesn't leave his wallet on the kitchen counter anymore. That is what addiction does. Even when people love you, they start moving their valuables. I'm paying restitution every month. It will take years. Every payment feels like touching the bruise again, but maybe that's fair. Maybe I need the reminder that consequences aren't a one-time event. I used to think getting caught was the worst thing that could happen. It wasn't. Getting caught was the first honest thing that happened in over a year. The worst thing was how normal stealing became inside my head. The first time, I shook so badly I could barely count the money. By the last time, I was annoyed the deposit was smaller than expected. That scares me more than the arrest. I crossed lines slowly enough that each one felt survivable. A lie here. A loan there. A missing $100. A coworker's name dropped at the right moment. A man who trusted me looking me in the face and giving me one chance to tell the truth. And me choosing the bet instead. I don't know if I'm a good person who did bad things or a bad person trying to become good. My counselor says that question matters less than what I do next. Maybe she's right. All I know is this. I became a thief before I ever admitted I was a gambler. I didn't steal because I hated Mike. I didn't steal because I wanted to hurt Ryan. I didn't steal because I didn't love Chloe or my parents. I stole because addiction made every person in my life smaller than the possibility of one more win. That is the most honest sentence I can write. If you're taking money and telling yourself you'll put it back, listen to me. You're not borrowing, you're building evidence. And one day, someone is going to walk through the door, say your name, and every lie you use to protect yourself will become the thing that ruins you.